Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. It feels like it's been a long time since we've chatted to you all, so it's really great to be back on the show talking about all things Brighton and Hove Albion. We've got quite a lot to discuss. We've got some loan moves out of the club, a little bit about Cucurella and what Tony Bloom had to say about his supposed move to Manchester City. We're going to talk a little bit as well about some Twitter beef that's been going on that we're not big fans of. And of course, we're going to be chatting about our first pre-season friendly against Union Saint-Gilloise, or USG if you'd prefer. But before we dive into that, let's see who we've got on today. We welcome back Joe. Joe, mate, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. As you say, it's been a while. I think it's been about 3 weeks in between episodes, but there's not been much happening, really. Pre-season is the worst time of the year. Yeah, lots to speak about, and I admire your pronunciation on USG because I tried to say it yesterday and it just sounded like I was drunk, really. So.
It's all about confidence, and I do vaguely remember some of my French lessons from school. I know they're not a French side, but I believe they speak French in some parts of Belgium along with Flemish, but I could be mistaken. Apologies if you're from Belgium and I've got that horribly wrong. We also welcome back Dan. Dan, mate, I see you're sporting a fresh trim, looking sharp, my friend, looking sharp.
It's just basically to try and keep cool under this massive sort of heat wave we're getting. So yeah, I'm all good. I'll try not to melt today. It's been quite warm. I'm boiling in this as well, so it's all good.
Yeah, they say summer is football shirt weather. I don't know who came up with that idea because, mate, I am cooking. I was just wearing like a vest top, and then I got changed for the podcast, as you do. Put on this lovely shirt that Aaron has sent me. Thank you, Aaron. Love you lots. And I'm really warm. So I don't know who came up with this idea that summer is football shirt weather because it's just too hot. It's too warm. The things we do for podcasts, eh? So let's just chat about a few things before we get on to the first pre-season fixture. A few loans out of the club for our younger players. One that Joe was probably quite obvious to a lot of fans when he was brought in is that Simon Adingra, who was only signed a few weeks ago from FC Nordsjælland in Denmark, has been loaned out to USG. We'll talk about his performance in the USG team a bit later. But do you think that was a sensible move for him to go to, I suppose, what you could call our sister club to gain some valuable experience?
Yeah, I think it was. You look at the likes of Undav, Mitoma, Kozlowski, what they've achieved at USG. And it's the right thing for Tony Bloom to do as well, to be recruiting for both clubs, essentially, because I've got no doubt they're going to want to go again next year and try go that one step further and win the league via the playoff system that they've got, which I don't really agree with. I think they won the actual league itself by quite a few points, and then they're into a playoffs and they lose out. So, yeah, big guys for them. But as I say, Tony Bloom wants the best recruitment possible for that club and for our club. So it's a win-win situation. And you said we mentioned the performance later on, but from the looks of it, they've got one hell of a player.
Another loan that we saw recently go out, Dan, was Hayden Roberts. Now, last year, Graham Potter decided to keep him in and around the first team, but he didn't actually get any minutes. I remember, well, on this very show, we were calling out for him to be introduced to the first team for quite a while, but it never happened. He's gone to Derby County, who are currently being managed by former Brighton player Liam Rosenior. Do you think this is a good move for the young lad, League One level? So, a good breeding ground, I suppose, to get some valuable experience.
Yeah, I've seen that Derby are doing quite well in the transfer window as well, trying to get some players in, sort of, and I've seen quite decent players for that level as well. So he'll definitely get some good minutes down in League One. It's a shame that, obviously, as we said, I think we pointed to it, that nausea last year was basically that he should have been probably playing a lot more, because while we were playing poorly, we could have been just sort of had that extra sort of sparking in, because he probably want to show that he wants to do well. But yeah, he would do. I think he will do fairly well at Derby, because Derby they probably were looking to probably bounce back over that relegation. So he should be doing. They should be doing very well next season for this season.
Yeah, what a player to learn under as well, Liam Rosenior. Fantastic for us. So hopefully Hayden can get those minutes and really up his game. As you say, Dan, it was a bit of a shame that he didn't get any minutes for us last season, but I'm sure Graham Potter had his reasons. One last loan out we're just going to chat about, Joe, is Carl Rushworth. He has gone on loan to Lincoln. He was also linked to the likes of Portsmouth and Derby County as well, respectfully. Rushworth is got a high ceiling by all accounts. You talk to anyone, they talk about Carl Rushworth. He's he's played for England at youth levels. He's been famously scouted by Barcelona. Joe, what do you think would make a successful loan season for Carl Rushworth? Do you see him as the number one for Lincoln, or how do you think they're going to play it?
After the time he spent at Walsall, was it really good? A lot of Walsall fans raving about him. I saw lots of clips of his saves. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't Lincoln's number one. Lincoln League 1, right? So is that a step up from Walsall? Sorry,
Yeah.
Dan, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, Walsall League 2. And he was,
Right.
I think, he was the young player of the season.
I thought you meant Luton, wasn't it? Oh no, Lincoln. Sorry,
Lincoln.
Yeah. So Lincoln League 1. So it's a step up from Walsall. It gets so confusing down there because teams are always chopping and changing. So yeah, I think it'd be a really good move for him. And I'm not too sure how Lincoln did last year, but I think they might have been pushing sort of top half, maybe even playoffs. So yeah, if he could get them into the automatic promotion places or get them to a successful playoff campaign, then it would be great for him. And as you say, he's got a massive ceiling. He's a great goalkeeper. Even when he was at Worthing, people were raving about him. So yeah, you've got to be impressive for people to be looking at you when you're playing. That, not to sound disrespectful, but when you're playing at lower league, even non-league, in Worthing's case, you've got to be a really special player for people to be looking at you and saying, okay, yeah, you could even be Brighton's number one in the next 3 years. Maybe that's a bit of a overstatement, if that's the right word, but or exaggeration. But yeah, I think we could be really excited by him.
Yeah, I'm definitely very excited by him. I still maintain that save he famously made for Worthing is one of the best saves I think I've ever seen at that level of football. Just talking of Lincoln, he joins former academy players, Max Sanders, and I think there's another young lad who played in our academy. And I think that Liam Bridcut still plays for Lincoln City. So, good people to be around. Good people to be around. Just really quickly, Dan, about loans. Do you see any of our other fringe players being loaned out? There are talks about Cadra being loaned to the Championship. Obviously, Graham Potter will be looking at the likes of Cadra, Van Heck, Zakiri. What do you think the future holds for those players?
I think for Kedra, I think he lit up the Championship really, because I think they highly rated him at Blackburn. So I'd have thought that would have been more successful, maybe to try him in the Premier League as on the bench as a bench player. Shaqiri, obviously, we didn't hear much about his how he played in the Bundesliga. So obviously, Van Heck, I think he was their player of the season, I think, as well. So I think he probably deserves to be tried out in the Premier League as well. So really, what I'd expect, really, at least with Shaqiri, but I'd love to see the other two in the Premier League. I think they can do that step up quite easily.
Yeah, Van Heck especially. We'll talk a bit about his performance yesterday in the second half. But no, he looks like a player that is very much ready to step up to the Premier League. It will be very interesting to see how Graham Potter, looks at these players. That's what pre-season's for. We've said it before. So it'll be a very interesting pre-season. Now, just before we do catch up on yesterday's preseason game against USG, we're just going to talk a little bit about some things that have been happening on Twitter. And in particular, some pretty, some generalizations about certain demographics, shall we say. And it's just gatekeeping. We've seen it before, Joe, and we continue to see it. This idea that young people, especially millennials, about being impatient, about being, thinking that they're owed something, that they're, entitled. This has been born out of people on Twitter saying things like, "Oh, we haven't signed anyone yet," or "We still haven't released the new shirt," and it's caused a bit of a rift between some supporters. Joe, what do you make of it? Do you think it's just a lot of hot air, or is there any validity to these comments?
I got dragged into it by myself, being myself. I always like to have my say on things. And we talk about generalization. I was maybe a little bit of a hypocrite when I said that people shouldn't be generalized, because then I then went on to generalize about the people that were talking about the people who were generalizing. It's just a minefield, Tom. I just think that people should take a bit of a chill pill and just let people crack on and say whatever they want to say. Because at the end of the day, does it hurt you if somebody's tweeting, "Where's the new shirt"? No, it doesn't. Scroll past it. Does it hurt you when somebody's saying, "Oh, we should have signed this player"? No. They're entitled to their opinion just as much as the next person's entitled to their opinion, as long as it's not derogatory or anything like that, of course. But I just think, myself included, people should just scroll past it. I've got a lot to learn about myself. I said to someone, they tweeted me and was like, I don't know, calling me all sorts, and basically called me out. And the best way to deal with those people is to accept yourself that you've maybe said something wrong. So I always tweet back to people, and I mean it when I say it. I'm really sorry you took it that way. I'm always trying to better myself. So thank you for telling me that you feel that way. That's the way to deal with it, not to just instantly jump down people's throats and instantly start blocking and blaming, because that's just not going to get us nowhere. So you just have to learn about yourself, move on, scroll past, put the phone down, and just walk away.
Yeah, but Joe, were you born at the Goldston?
Stop it, Tom. Stop it.
I know we've said it before. The gatekeeping is ridiculous, and I don't like the generalizations of younger fans, because if I haven't been through the Goldston. I vaguely remember the stuff that happened in the 90s because I was 7. I'm very glad in a way that my son will never have to experience the Withdean. I'm very glad of that. I'm very glad that younger fans will never have to experience, wondering if their club will still exist.
Also, Tom, can I just say something really quickly? I think somebody said something to me about the identity of the football club, and fans wanting rid of the identity of where we've come from. But just look at what's around us as younger fans. I've got this shirt in the background representing our history. Dan's wearing the same shirt. You've got a very old training shirt.
I've got lots of.
You've got everything, but doesn't that show people that we are proud of where we've come from? If we're sporting the stuff that, yeah, we were in our darker days, but as I said on Twitter,
we did a whole episode on it.
I have spoken to so many people and educated myself and watched so many videos and read so many articles. I'm not asking for a pat on the back or a bloody medal, but I wanted to do it because I wanted to learn about our football club. So if somebody tells me that I'm diminishing the image or the what's the word I'm looking for, identity of our football club, then I'm sorry, but I can't take that, and that's the one that really triggered me over the last week on Twitter. But as I say, I need to learn from what I say about it and just move on from it.
Yeah, it was just for context, that was in regards to Joe has been posting some really wonderful concept kits on Twitter, and it was in reference to an altered club badge where it was just the seagull instead of the crest. It's just worth reminding fans of that shirt there and the wrong blue shirt. So yeah, but But yeah, back to what I was saying, it's this idea that I'm very glad that, you know, younger generations haven't had to go through those hardships. And it's like Attila the stockbroker said, you know, it's important that history is there, but we can't keep, he didn't say these exact words, but it's this idea that we can't keep banging on about it. We can't keep this gatekeeping stuff because it's not younger fans' fault that they weren't born. And just one last thing from me, if you wanna generalize, I mean, you could easily go on North Stand Chat. I'm part of North Stand Chat, but I'm pretty sure the demographic on North Stand Chat is older than millennials, generally speaking. And if you go on there after a game, especially like a loss, there's loads of moaning, there's loads of complaining about certain players or Graham Potter or the play style. But I wouldn't go around and say, oh, bloody boomers, bloody moaning, they're so entitled. Of course I wouldn't, because it turns out that people just like to moan. And being a part of a generation is completely irrelevant. It's just people moaning because people like to vent.
Exactly. The simplicity of it is, people say, and I probably do this, but people say, oh, Brighton fans are this. Brighton fans are always going on about this. Why are Brighton fans so... It's if you go onto Chelsea Twitter, Crystal Palace Twitter, Aston Villa, they've got the same individuals, and it's football. People are going to moan. People are going to have their opinions. So yeah, I don't get the uproar, but whatever.
No, I fully agree. It's just people being people. Anyway, enough about that. But it's just, again, it was nice to vent. It was nice. It was a cathartic experience. So we move.
Sorry, Dan. What do you think about it all? Because I know that you were quite vocal.
Yeah, and it's also worth mentioning as well, Dan, you were in contact because it got a bit toxic towards certain individuals. And of course, we have extended our support to a particular individual there. It got very toxic, Dan, very toxic indeed. What is your take on all this?
It's just nonsense, all of it. It's just, I've only supported the club for not 10 years now. Obviously, I'm wearing this kit because that's our history. I even said that I wish I had the red badge. People said, "Oh, why do you need the red?" It's the Belotti's red, the dangerous red badge. I'm like, yeah, but it's still our history. And obviously, as you alluded to as well, obviously I've had one person obviously sort of be since this fan board stuff happened. It's got very, very toxic towards one person, which I won't name. So people already know anyway, but I've noticed that basically because certain individuals didn't get put forward for this board, one person that I've seen was vocal saying, "Oh yeah, I got in." Everyone was going towards this person, and basically it ended up to this point. Yeah, was it yesterday or the day before that they had obviously said that I've actually stepped down because I can't handle all the pressure, and it's like that's just bullying. At the end of the day, he was voted in. I don't know if it was fairly or whatever. That's the club to either come out to say it was all fair or whatever. You can have your opinion about that. The age of people who whatever, they're there for a reason. They were there for voted in there, and there's no need to badger onto somebody. And it's just the point where it got very, very bad. And I just ended up just stepping. I just couldn't I was trying not to lose my head and start basically calling people out and basically destroying myself. But I was like, kept myself as calm as I could and just said, look, just stop now. It's getting bad now. This person is, he's actually said that he's struggling at the moment. Can you just stop? It needs to stop. It's not going to work. Nothing is going to, your life's not going to be better from it. His life's obviously getting worse. Just stop. And it carried on. I was just like, just stop. If you're not getting anything from it, what's the point? Just shut up. Just stop. Walk away. Both of you just walk away and just ignore it. Come back tomorrow. You both probably have a different mindset, whatever on it. And obviously the next day it carried on anyway. So it's just nonsense. It's just, if I was born during the Golston era, obviously when the Golston went down, I was 4. So I don't think I was even able to have a season ticket at a point, probably. So I couldn't have gone anyway. So sorry.
Yeah, it's just a real shame, as you say, Dan. But if you're not going to help, just walk away, because I'm not against calling people out for having opinion, or engaging in discussion. We should say engaging in discussion is a really important part of life. Of course it is. But if you know the person that you're engaging in a discussion with is not in a good place, you just walk away, because you're just going to do more harm than help.
It was even mentioned in one of the comments toward the person who carried on and literally ignored. I was just like, you're being serious right now. You've literally ignored the fact that he's actually said, I'm struggling at the moment.
The comment that I couldn't get past was, and I'm not going to name names because I don't feel that's right, but there was one particular comment that said, you can't use mental health as an excuse. Mental health is never an excuse. If somebody's reaching out and opening up and saying, I'm struggling, you do, as you say, Dan, you walk away from them, or you offer support. I couldn't fathom that comment. I really wanted to bite at it because I've been through my struggles. Tom, I'm sure you have. Dan, I'm sure you have. It's never an excuse, and that really grates on me.
No, it's like it's just people's complete ignorance about mental health. There's a reason why suicide is the number one killer of men below a certain age, young men. And saying stuff like that is completely unacceptable. And the person who said that should be ashamed of themselves. And that is the last thing I'm going to say, because that comment has triggered me quite a lot. And I don't want to give it the time of day. So let's talk about the preseason game yesterday against Union Saint-Gilloise, or USG. We'll call them USG because I can't keep putting on the old flair there. So we played USG. It was USG's fourth pre-season game, and it was our first. Graham Potter, as expected, put out 2 11s, a first half 11 and a second half 11. And I suppose, Joe, the main point of our first pre-season game is very much to get minutes in legs, to keep working on that match fitness, that match sharpness. So let's talk about that first half, Joe. First of all, what did you make of the 11 that Graham Potter put out? Were there any players in there that you were really excited to see?
Yeah, Julio Enciso obviously has had a lot of noise around him about what he can do. I thought he had a really good first 45 minutes. I thought he worked quite well with Danny Welbeck up front. But obviously you can't read too much into these games. As you say, it's all to get minutes. It's all to see what certain players can do. There wasn't really any others in there that sort of stood out, but again, it's pre-season, and all this thought of our pre-season game should be exhilarating and exciting, and all this. And people, I saw loads of comments about, "Oh, this person was trash. That person wasn't great." Does it matter? Does it really matter? But for the purpose of the podcast, yeah, I thought Enciso was fantastic, and I can't wait to see his progression. And I really want him to stay in the Premier League squad as well, because based on what I saw yesterday, I think he could really do something for us.
Yeah, that was actually literally going to be the next point. Dan, he was probably the standout performer. You could really see that he was trying to impress. Do you see his immediate future as being part of the Premier League squad under Graham Potter, or do you think a loan out to the Championship or a similar quality of league will be his next step?
After that, I'd probably be a bit upset to see him go on loan, because I think he has something about him, I think. And I think he can flourish in the Premier. That's my gut feeling. But obviously, Graham knows more about it than I do. But, from just 45 minutes of action, I could see him doing something in the Premier League, I think. But time will tell. They know what's best for him. We don't really. But, it's up to them. I'd love to see him be in the Premier League.
Yeah, he could certainly make an impact, I'm sure. And Joe, the last thing we want to do is break up this budding bromance between Julio Enciso and Marc Cucurella. Just very briefly on Marc Cucurella, Tony Bloom came out in the week and just said that no bid has been tabled from Manchester City. That doesn't mean to say it's not going to happen. But at this moment in time, you can pretty much put all the rumours about Mark Cucurella to Man City to bed, because our chairman has come out and said, yeah, then we've received nothing and we don't need to sell. But Joe, just your thoughts on Enciso. Do we keep him around or do we send him out on loan for minutes?
Yeah, as I said, we keep him around. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Obviously, there's going to be, I believe, 5 substitutes allowed in the Premier League this season. So we need to bolster the squad. We need different options, and I certainly think that he can give us a different option up front. Based on what I saw yesterday, he's direct, he's quick, he's not afraid to take somebody on. I was watching the comparison between him and Solly March. And it's not to nitpick because, as I say, it's a pre-season friendly, but I've noticed a lot, even during the Premier League, that Solly sort of backs off and doesn't really take someone on. And they were playing sort of next to each other. And I could see the difference between the two. And obviously, Solly has given us an option up front before, not up front, but on the wing. So it's nice to see that comparison. A player's not scared to take somebody on, and I think we really need that as well, because there's been a few times where you just think, don't be afraid, just try something, and it never came off for us really last season. So yeah, as I say, we can be really excited and hopefully see him firing in the Premier League.
He reminded me a little bit of Jeremy Sarmiento when he first burst onto the scene. This directness, this not afraid to take players on. So yeah, very exciting, very exciting. Another Brighton player caught the eye, Dan, yesterday, but he was playing in yellow, and that was Simon Adingra. He certainly looked very direct, very pacey, and very exciting. What did you make of USG's new loan signing, Simon Adingra?
What I saw of him, he looks like a really decent player, because he caused our back line very much of a little bit of a problem, because I think he nearly scored, I think, as well, if I remember rightly. So yeah, when he comes back and he gets that work permit, I'm sure he'll be in around the squad, same as Enciso, and probably be winning the gun for that place, if for a starting place or on the bench. So yeah, I think he could be a right player. We've got some promising young players coming through, even just being signed, and the future is looking good.
Very much so. I do remember him. I think it was him. He put in a cross to the back post, and they should have scored, but they didn't. And talking of young players, in the second half, we saw a different 11, which we've come to expect in these early preseason games as minutes start getting into those legs, was Van Heck. Now, we've already chatted a little bit about him already, but Joe, what did you make of Van Heck's performance yesterday? Because from what I saw and from a lot of the views of people on socials, has been that Van Heck really caught the eye yesterday. Is he ready for those Premier League minutes under Graham Potter?
Oh, he's very ready. Very, very ready. He was Blackburn's standout player last season, along with, as Dan's already mentioned, about Kadra as well. So yeah, we've got 2 players that have come back that have been prepped and are ready to go for the Premier League, I'd say. And Van Heck was absolutely wonderful yesterday, just solid. He's bloody massive, by the way. There was one moment where he came sort of close to the camera and there was a USG player practically underneath him looking up at him. So, yeah, I think he's going to be really exciting to watch next season, or this season, if you like. And as well, with Webster coming back, we've still got Cucurella on our books. We've got Veltman, we've got Dunk. I think we're in a really good place defensively. If we can keep hold of them. A lot of people are a little bit disappointed that it looks like we might be losing Ostergaard. But to be honest, with how much Van Heck's pushed on last season, I'm not overly bothered. Obviously, Ostergaard was quite an exciting prospect. He's not gone yet. I'm not saying he's going to go, but it looks that way. But yeah, I think we're in good stead, and yeah, bring on next season so we can see what Van Heck can really do.
Yeah, just really quickly on Ørstegård. Yeah, you're right. It does look like he will be joining the Italian team that he's been linked with. But just really quickly, just reminded me of this wonderful comment I saw at the early last season when he was on loan at Stoke. Because when he joined Stoke, the initial reaction to him was really positive by the fans. And I remember one fan on their fan forum, I'm going to just paraphrase because I can't remember the exact quote, but it was about if you were given the choice between dribbling past a bear or Ørstegård, you'd dribble past the bear because they were that impressed with his tenacity and his just, I want that ball. That ball is my ball. I need to get that ball back. So yeah, it's if it's the right move for Ørstegård, then fair play to him.
To be fair, that's what I saw from Van Heck yesterday. That same tenacity, that same mindset of that ball is mine, and you're not really there. There's nothing in between me and that ball is going to be in my feet or to the player I want to pass it to. So I think Graham Potter's probably made a very educated decision on who can fit into his play style more. Ørstegård's a little bit hot-headed, and I think we know with Graham Potter, he doesn't tend to go for that type of player. Obviously, I know we've got Neil Maupay, I know we've got Undav coming into the side as well, but I think they're the right mentality. Whereas if you've got a player like Andone, even I know he wasn't under Graham Potter, but Anthony Knockaert as well when he lost his head a few times. So yeah, I think Graham's made the right decision. If he had to choose between the two, that Van Heck will be the one to graduate as such.
Yep, and I'm happy to trust Potter on this one. Very happy indeed. So the game, Dan, ended 0-0. So for me, I'm not particularly bothered about the scoreline. As far in as we didn't get hammered, which is fine. I didn't expect us to go out there in our first pre-season friendly and score 9 or 10 goals against a very well drilled USG team. But of course, there will be some people that will look at that scoreline and their hearts will sink. But can we really, learn much from, especially these very early pre-season games? Can we learn much? Is it time to panic, or is it just about getting minutes in the legs?
It's all about getting minutes, really. I've never really taken friendlies much seriously, other than the Chelsea one, which when we beat like likes of Frank Lampard, I was just sitting there going, nothing to really shout home about. But yeah, it's just about getting minutes. I think as I said, it's our first pre-season friendly match with theirs is their fourth. Did you say? Yeah. And they've had a lot more practice than we have, so it's gonna cancel each other out because they've got their tactics all well going. Obviously, then I think their players play a lot longer as well. Obviously, we had 45 minutes each for teams, so it was quite hard. And obviously, we had the penalty shootout afterwards, which was very interesting, which we didn't see, which we got promised. We didn't see that, but there we go.
Yeah, I'd rather not watch a penalty shootout, to be honest. It's also worth remembering that we didn't have a lot of our internationals play yesterday because, Caicedo, Trossard, Sanchez, Mitoma, they've all played international games relatively recently, which means they've had more time off. Alex McAllister as well, just popped into my head. So we were, I suppose, light on a few of our regular first team players. But it's all about getting match sharpness. I do think it's worth sort of like remembering that I think these early preseason games are less about getting fit in the terms of like the general fitness. Because I think general fitness for footballers is a lot better than perhaps it was even 10 years ago because of the amount of money that gets poured into sports science. But it's very much about getting that sort of match fitness and that match sharpness back. So I'm not particularly bothered by the result, and I don't really think anyone should be either. One more thing I just want to talk about in terms of the friendly yesterday, Joe, which seems a bit ironic considering I've said, we shouldn't read too much into preseason friendlies. But 2 players were left out of the squad, which automatically got people thinking about perhaps this will be the beginning of the end for them. And that is the aforementioned Andone and Aaron Connolly. Now, we've tried to get rid of Andone for a couple of years now without success. Will this finally be the year, Joe, that we see? I don't mean to sound this as harsh as it's going to, but is this the year that we're going to see the back of him?
I very much share Solly March's views on Andone. And I don't know if you guys saw the video, but there was
Like when he just looks in and goes, "You're right."
He just goes, "Oh no." Yeah, I sort of forgot we had him, to be honest. I thought he'd actually left. That's just me not being clued up on everything as much as I should be, maybe. I would like for him to move on, so he can try a different avenue. He can try a new adventure. I think it would be best for his career, because if he has another unsuccessful loan, he doesn't know where he's going. Insecurity and not knowing where you're going is a horrible thing to deal with.
I'm sure the £40,000 a week helps.
Well, I'm sure it does, but that money doesn't help your mental state at the end of the day.
I don't know. Gareth Bale seemed pretty happy when he was just playing golf.
Well, yeah, but he's going playing golf. He's loving life. He's in Spain. He's in sunny Madrid. He's swimming in his lovely swimming pool in his massive mansion. But as I said, I've just probably been a hypocrite and said that doesn't help your mental state. But he knew what he was doing. He was playing for Wales. He was having a great time. But yeah, in terms of Andone, I think it's time for him to go. As for Connolly, I don't think you asked me about Connolly, but I'm going to say about Connolly, he needs to go. Leave. I don't want you anymore. You're a waste of our wage budget. I'm not going to say waste of space, because he's still young. He could go down to the League One and really push on, get some physicality, go on to the Championship and just build himself up that way, because he needs grounding, which a lot of people have been saying. He's been living off of the 2 goals against Spurs and the 1 goal against Burnley. I know he scored more than that, but it seems to be whatever he posts on his Instagram story. Yeah, he just needs to go somewhere where a manager's going to really get drilled into him and make him realise what being a footballer is. It's not Love Island. It's not clubbing every weekend. It's a lot of hard work and time and effort.
There's only so long you can live off 2 goals against Spurs. Dan, what do you make of Andonia and Connolly? Joe's had his say. Now, there were a few fans last season who thought Andone might be the missing player that's going to bag us 15 goals a season. Do you feel like that's a bit over the top, or do you think that do you still think he's got something to prove, something to do, or do you think his time is up?
Unfortunately, his time's up. I think both of them. I think there's a reason probably why that Graham doesn't fancy him at all. He's obviously come back pre-season. He's been there since the start, and he didn't get a game. So he didn't get time in the game. So there's got to be a reason for it. The same with Connolly. I go ad nauseam. I can just keep saying what everyone else is saying about Connolly. He's at the moment on loan to Soush, really, isn't he, in Brighton? So, but yeah, he does need grounding. There was a player in the Premier League under 23s, that caught our eye and gone, actually he needs to start, and instead he did start against Spurs, and instead 2 debut goals against Spurs. Brilliant for him, But to say how long you can live off that, and the club did pop in my head. I thought Derby, really. Think how bad everything's going at Derby. It could be a lot worse for him. It could be a lot worse. But yeah, and as well, Andone, obviously. I think with last season we tried to say to them, look, have him on loan with an option. So, play so many games, you might like him. He's a good player, have him. But obviously then I think he got injured and didn't play. Then obviously now we've got him back again. Try again. But yeah, I can't see him being both back in the squad this year.
No, I think Cadiz, they tried to send him back in January, I think, Antonio. I mean, I'm pretty sure they tried to send him back because of attitude problems. Surprise, surprise. But the club, I think, said no. But yeah, I think in regards to Connolly, you're right. There is a player in there, a very good player, but I think he knows he's a good player and it's gone to his head. So now I think he's got to the point where he just doesn't think he needs to try. I think he needs.
It's a thing called money. If you give him the money, it goes straight to your head. He's gone, no, actually, I'm a pretty decent player, but money can only take you so far.
He needs an old school Neil Warnock type of manager who's not going to take any of his nonsense and is going to just, tell him how it is. We shall see. Let's just put it this way. I'll be very surprised if both of them are still here in September. So yeah, there we go. So now the club leave for a training session in Portugal. Graham Potter's taking quite a lot of the players with him. We talked about the likes of the returning loan players, Matoma, Zakiri, Van Heck, Kadra, going to work on their training drills in Portugal. So it'll be very interesting to see when the next pre-season friendly comes around in Reading, who is in Graham Potter's plans. Joe, is there any player, a returning player from a loan, that you'd like very much for Potter to, give that chance to?
Is it cheating to say Van Heck? Or
no, you can say Van Heck.
Okay, I will say Van Heck, but I'm not going to stay on that point because I've already mentioned. Another player I would like to see part of the plans. Again, is it cheating to say Undav? Because I think we all know he's going to be anyway. But I just think, again, he's a different option. I know people say he looks like Neil Maupay, but I think he is a different player to Neil Maupay. I think he's got strength. He can hold the ball up well. He can shoot from anywhere. He's not afraid to really get stuck in. Whereas I think Neil is more buzzing around the back line, pressing and cutting the passing line. So obviously he can get in behind the defenders and stuff like that. I'm very excited. I could mention a lot of them. Obviously Kozlowski, very young. But I'll leave some for Dan to talk about. But yeah, no, it's exciting, and I've said it all along. I said it last season as well when people were moaning about our January transfer window. We didn't bring that many in, or even there's no rumours. Yes, but we've got all of these players coming back who could really step up, and they'll all be like new signings. Because we've not seen him in a Brighton shirt before, so yeah, it's exciting, and as you say, it'd be very interesting come Reading to see who's still there.
Same question to you then, Dan. Any player in particular that you're not only excited to see, but you hope that Graham Potter keeps in his plans?
Same really. Dallas obviously for scoring he was doing in the Belgian league. We want to see how much he can do that in the Premier League. Obviously, Matoma as well. He looks like a really every time I've seen to go out on internationals, I've seen videos of his goals. Some of those other ones like obviously Kadri we saw a little bit of in the Brighton shirt, not a lot of it. Obviously, more of him. Obviously, Van Heck as well. I think, as I said before, I think he was player of the season at Blackburn. So he must be a good player. So it'd be interesting to see the back line. Obviously, would we still see Dunk, Webster, and Beltman, or would there be a Van Heck in there maybe instead of one of the others? Or it's definitely going to be interesting to see how things go and who might miss out and who gets in.
Yes, especially when it comes to defence, because don't forget, we've also got Matt Clark as well, a natural left footer who was West Brom's player of the season. There have been rumours that West Brom might come in for a permanent transfer to the club. Especially that's the rumour up here anyway. And we just have to wait and see about that. In regards to the player that I'm looking forward to seeing, I'm looking forward to seeing Matoma. I think he's going to be a very exciting prospect. Obviously, him and Ndav have worked together before. as has Kozlowski. So those three players, hopefully they might have that experience together, which is always a real positive. And I'm also quite intrigued by Karbovnik, who spent last season on loan in Greece, because he was brought in at the same time as Jakub Moder. And I remember there was quite a lot of fanfare about his signing because I think he'd been nominated for the Golden Boy Award, I think it's called, which the likes of Messi and Mbappe have all been I think they've won them in when they were youngsters. So I think there was quite a lot of fanfare around the fact that we were buying this young Polish player who was really exciting, had a really exciting future. I don't necessarily think it's gone particularly well when he's gone out on loan. The Greek league it's not particularly competitive in the way that the English leagues are, from what little I know of it. But it'll be interesting to see how he gets on, especially as he's come out and said he wants to now play in midfield instead of as a defender. So it'll be interesting to see, what Graham Potter thinks of him, whether we'll see him if go out on loan to be sold or as part of the plans, especially as Joe has already mentioned, when we're seeing that 5 substitutes can be used this coming season.
They actually looked really decent, to be fair, yesterday, Karbovnik, and a lot of people were saying as much as well. I thought I believe he played in the midfield role as well. And we all know that Graham loves a versatile player. So when Karbovnik knocked on his door and said, "Boss, I want to play in midfield," he was like, "Right, let's get to work." Obviously, losing Basuma as well, we need numbers in midfield, and if he can step up, if he can have a really good pre-season and show what he can do in the middle, then I don't see why not. And as you say, I remember when we signed him and Moder, that there was as much noise about him as there was Moder, and look at what Moder's done for us in the Premier League. So it'll be really useful as well, because obviously Jakub Moder can help him settle in as well. They're both Polish guys, so that it'll be good for them to have that relationship built again. So yeah, I think that could be really one to watch.
Very true, and I'll add Kozlowski to that. And it's like back in the Puya era, we had the Spanish contingent. Soon we'll have the Polish contingent. So yeah, very much one to keep an eye on there. As are all the
Lewandowski, does he want to sign for us? No?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Robert, if you want to, try a new challenge, come join us. We're wonderful. So yeah, there we have it, guys. Our next game is against Reading on Saturday, the 23rd of July. I wonder if we'll see any squad changes, any ins, outs, or any new shirts. Who knows? Don't want to moan about that.
But what you will what you will see is me in the away end. I'm going to Reading, so that's going to be fun. I'll do a little players to watch vlog maybe. So yeah, if anyone wants to come to Reading with me, Dan, Tom, come along.
Thanks for the invite, Joe. Reading's not that too far away from me, actually. I'll have a think. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what has happened between now and Reading. But as I say, I won't moan about it too much because we don't want those boomers moaning about millennials even more, do we? And on that generalizing bombshell, it is time for us to say fare thee well. Oh, Joe's going to say something. Go, Joe, go.
I'm going to say something. Mark Cucurella is a seagull.
I had heard a rumor, and it was Tony Bloom said it. So if Tony Bloom said it, if Uncle Tony said those words, that's good enough for me.
And his hair, we haven't had a swear yet, but his hair is fucking massive.
I even heard that he drinks Estrella and he eats paella, but that could be wrong. Who knows? As I say, we'll see what happens between now and Reading. So thank you very much, Joe and Dan, for joining me on this scorcher of a Sunday afternoon. I hope you guys out there are keeping cool, stay hydrated, drink lots, and don't forget to apply that sun cream if you're going outside. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content if you haven't done so already. We love those likes. They're free. You don't have to pay for them at all, and they help boost the channel. So please, please, please consider giving us a thumbs up, a share, and just leave us a comment and tell us who you're excited about to see from the returning Lone Army. We have been the Albion Obsessed. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.